Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of The Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. I just need to talk about this because this has been the talk of the nation the past few days. And a lot of people, if you don't know, it's about Jake Paul and the Mike Tyson fight, or what they call a fight. Because let's be honest, Netflix has lost it when it's come to putting out quality programming. Netflix, in my opinion, hasn't had a good show that I've seen, like a Netflix original, since season 2 of House of Cards. And I haven't seen season 3 or 4 of it. So season 2 was like the last good programming that I've seen of Netflix. No, I've not seen Stranger Things. I've not seen anything else that they put out that's original. But I do know that this Netflix fight, was one of their big live sporting events. And I can tell you this, that this was not a sporting event whatsoever. This was a mockery. This was a scam. This is a gotcha. And for what? I'll be honest, I was intrigued about this quote-unquote fight because, for one, I enjoy boxing. I think that boxing is a very entertaining sport to watch. I think it's a very important thing that we still currently do and people compete in as a sport because it is a one-on-one competition that, in all honesty, I'm a big football guy. I also love baseball. I like basketball. I like all the ball sports. Pause. I really do. But there's nothing really that kind of beats the one-on-one combat sports competition. And you know what? I'll admit I'm not the biggest UFC guy, but give me a pay-per-view to watch. I've seen a couple fights, and I'll be honest, I kind of like it. It's interesting. It's fun to see that competition. And especially with the characters that they have, one of the characters, but the personalities that they have in UFC, I could easily get into it. It's just that all the big fights and all the main event ones are all pay-per-view, so it's like kind of hard for me to, get into it if I have to pay for it directly. I know that there's exhibitions and these other lower tier fights that you can watch on like ESPN, just regularly, but like I want to see the big ones, But anyway, like there's nothing like more primal and more the simplicity of a one-on-one combat sport. And that's where like boxing would fall under, is like the one-on-one combat sport that I think is, not just like about savagery and strength, but more of like technicality and tactics, and you have to think your opponent and anticipate the opponent, and it's a beautiful sport, I think, in my opinion. I mean, boxing is, one of the big main sports. I mean, it was like one of the main sports in like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and up until like the 2000s, it kind of like declined in popularity because of the rise of the UFC and mixed martial arts, just kind of, not just holding it to one area of a martial art, but expanding it to many, and just really promoting creativity and how others approach an opponent, in a fight. But anyway, enough about that. I want to talk about this sham, this scam, this hoodwinkedness, bamboozlement that we all kind of fell for, including myself, but like what we could have done differently and how we could have approached it differently to not maybe feel as disappointed as we do now. Because let's be honest, we just had an election, half the country feels defeated while the other country feels like they won. We just watched Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, air quote fight Jake Paul. And I can tell you this, the entire country feels like they lost because of the fight itself. Not because who won or lost, because of what we saw in general. We all lost. All of us. Even though we didn't directly pay for this, right? If you have a Netflix account, you can watch this for free. No additional charge. You can just watch it. Or try to watch it. I mean, let's also talk about that first before we actually get to what we actually saw, what we could have seen. The connection and the buffering, the lagging, the being kicked out, the stuttering, the app crashing, the you have no internet connection alert on Netflix. I mean, guys, let's be honest. Like this was a shit show and a half for Netflix servers and the platform in general when it comes to their ability to stream events, especially a sporting event where people need to know what happens at the exact moment of it happening. There is no like, oh, you're behind. Like, no. We need to see what's happening right this second. This is live sports. And this event, this catastrophe, this shit show was blurry, grainy, buffering constantly. I couldn't see much of anything in the actual fight. And I didn't even see the entire thing. I saw like maybe the last hour and a half of this entire thing. And I'll be honest with you, man, it was like maybe like a good like 2 solid minutes of it actually being streamed in HD. And I have pretty good internet. Like my internet is not bad. It's actually pretty good, but because of the high demand, the how many people are streaming the event, it just was not able to keep up with the country's demands. It wasn't just me either. I mean, I was perusing X, all social media, all the clips, all the memes, and nobody could view this thing in HD for more than like maybe a couple minutes before it would just buffer and, reduce the quality. That's the thing, man. I mean, I understand that streaming is, we are in the modern times and streaming is going to be a part of the future, but we truly are, at least Netflix is truly not ready to be a contender when it comes to streaming live sporting events. They just don't have the power to do that quite yet. But yeah, at the moment, I could confidently say that Netflix right now is not ready to stream NFL games in the future. If I'm being completely honest, like I just don't see how they could be ready to stream an NFL game when they can't even handle this. Now I get it. This fight had hype. This, fight had some hype to it. Which would, kind of, hype leads to more viewership, which means to, more stress on the servers, which means it could crash easier than if it was just like a normal, I guess you would say, Sunday NFL midday game, right? Even a primetime game, right? This generated some more hype than even that. And I guess you got to give credit to Jake Paul and Mike Ty, because they actually did generate quite a bit of views. Like I think it was like maybe 120 million views for this Netflix event, which, I think is like one of Netflix's most like watched streaming event ever. So I think that, in terms of that, aspect, it was a success. But let's not talk about what's going to make Jake Paul and Mike Ty the most money, which is the viewership. Let's talk about what this really was. And it was a whole lot of nothing. I mean, you got a good fight between, I believe it was Kate Taylor and Amanda Serrano, which I heard was pretty good, where Serrano got like lit up or not really lit up, but like headbutted accidentally, I assumed, and just split her whole eyebrow open, which was crazy to see that. I mean, that was a graphic cut on her face. And, Netflix being, going for the clicks and the views, making it live was just like, what, you can't like cut away from that. You can't censor that. You gotta, keep on that and ride that wave to see like what's going to happen next. And, kudos to those guys, because, that was some grade A content, even though it was, in my opinion, kind of disgusting, seeing her whole eyebrow just open, possibly her, her skull could be showing, that, I mean, but, kudos to them for, being hard and not cutting away from that, or not having her bandage that up, because if I was her, And if I'm being honest, I would want to see how bad my head is. If I'm going to need, like, if I'm losing any of my brain, if some of my skull is showing, if it's going to be a major, if I'm going to be bleeding a lot, I'm going to need to see, like, what's going on over there. And it was crazy, though. At the end of that fight between the ladies, she, like, wasn't even bleeding. It was just, like, open and not even gushing blood, just open, and, like, you could see the flesh, the head flesh of that woman, and with no blood dripping at all. And I was just like, how is it not bleeding? Like, what did they do to make it so, like, she's not, like, just pouring out blood? Again, I started watching that one late into it, so I didn't really, and I was kind of, like, eating in the kitchen. I was in and out, and I wasn't really fully paying attention because I was, I was hungry. And I saw it, and I was like, what did they do to make it so it wasn't bleeding? I mean, because sure, at the moment, it had to have been bleeding badly, but I guess it wasn't. I don't know, it was just, like, a weird thing to stumble upon. And I was also eating dinner, too. Imagine seeing some lady's head split open trying to eat dinner. It was definitely a little unsettling, I'll be honest. But then again, I heard that was the actual better fight of the night. And like I said, I didn't watch much of this one. I did end up watching all of Jake Paul and Mike Ty's so-called fight. And man, I guess we can jump into it. This was a total embarrassment to the sport of boxing, if you could even call it a sport at this point in time. There was pretty much like 20% competition that entire thing. The moment it started, there was some competition. It looked like Mike Ty was putting effort into it, and then, like, after, I would say, like, round 3, maybe even round 4, he kind of gave up. Either he gave up, or he was tired, or, conspiratorial. He was paid to not try to hurt Jake Paul. Now, before we even get onto that, let's just talk about the rest of this. Jake Paul is, I think, 27 years old. He's jacked, he's strong, he's athletic, he's fast. Mike Ty is 58 years old, shorter than Paul. His arms, like, reach is not as long as Paul's. He's not as fast as Paul. He's not as energetic as Paul. He's not as athletic as Paul. Honestly, people were betting that, I heard that Shaq was rooting for Tyson. Drake put in a bet for Tyson to knock out Paul. I even, at some point, I'm, like, thinking to myself, like, this is Mike Ty. He's a boxer. He's boxed before. He was really good in the past. He's strong. I've seen him train. He comes out firing. He still has power. Maybe not as much as we would like to believe, but, that's also because of our own biased viewpoint of him and his past 20 years ago, 20 plus years ago, and we think that that's going to translate to even now, when even we know, like, yeah, he has power. He can give a pretty powerful punch, but could he sustain it to keep up with a 27-year-old who's, much quicker on his feet, can move faster, can dodge faster? Was that going to, be a factor? And if I'm to look at this without a conspiratorial eye lens, I would say, yeah, he got outplayed. Not just outplayed, but outconditioned. He got outmaneuvered, outdodged. He looked tired. He looked slow. Every time he would walk back to his corner to take a seat, he was, like, very, 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 very slow. And he just did not have it in him energy-wise, speed-wise, movement-wise. His legs looked like they were just so slow. And even Roy Jones Jr., who was commentating on this fight, was even pointing that out. Like, look at his footwork. His footwork is not good. Like, I don't trust his legs right now. I don't like seeing how his legs are moving because they're sluggish. They're slow. They don't look like they could, keep up with the a young and spry Jake Paul. And I was like, I'm not a boxing aficionado. I'm not a boxing expert, but I could tell when someone is just physically incapable of keeping up with their competition and when they just run out of gas and they have no energy left in the tank. And it looked like, to me, that's what was happening to Mike Ty, was that he just could not keep up with Paul. So that happened like around round 3 when I really saw it. And then after that, Jake Paul had a few dust ups here and there. I think he hit Tyson right square on the nose. That looked like it hurt really bad. I'll be honest, it looked like it hurt a ton. I would have quit after that shit. I mean, I'll be honest. Anything like that hits me in my nose, and I've never had any like nose issues, like a nose injury or a nose surgery. The only thing that I get really bad with my nose is allergies, and that's a pain in the ass. But even if you like bump your nose or accidentally hit it on something, it like freaks me out. Like I almost become like a cat who touches water. I like jump and I'm like skittish, like, because it's not something that you want to get hit ever. Your arm, sure. Your arm is like full of muscle and shit, and like that could heal up and it bruises, whatever. It hurts for a little bit, you're fine. But your nose is, honestly, man, one of those things. If you're a man, you protect your face, your balls, and your nose. I mean, even with the ladies, your nose you want to protect as well, because your nose is super important, right? That's how you breathe. We're not mouth breathers. We breathe through our noses. It's very important. And the nose is also not even like bone. It's like cartilage, which I think is like really, really hard to maintain and for it to heal, I think. I always see, well, at least in my experience watching sports, especially like basketball, whenever like guys break their nose in basketball, they always have to wear like this, protective face mask to protect their nose, because any little ding or dupe or on it is going to hurt it really bad. And I've seen people with like really fucked up noses, and I hear that if you fuck it up, you can get a deviated septum, which fucks up your breathing. It's like, dude, anything that, comes into contact with my nose, I'm afraid of. And I don't want it to happen. I don't want to experience that, because I know like it'll be, one, painful as hell. 2, it's essential to how I live my day-to-day life. Everybody's, how do we get oxygen? We breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, or out through our nose, whatever the hell it is. It's essential to our day-to-day, life that we don't even think about, Breathing is just natural, second nature, first nature, actually, that we don't even need to think about. We just do. So when I saw him in slow-mo after the round concluded, and, watching the very, very grainy and low-quality replay, I was able to see that he got essentially good contact. Paul got some good contact on Mike Ty's nose, and I would have been like, oh, I'm out. I'm done. I don't want to continue. But he dusted him up a few more times after that, and pretty much basically after that, honestly, Mike Ty was just punching air. He was missing. He was, not quick enough. He wasn't even getting into reach of Jake Paul. And Jake Paul just kind of just fended him off, and just, it was pretty much over at that point. Jake Paul did his little theatrics at the very end of the fight, which went all 8 rounds, 8 2-minute rounds, which is candy ass, because, normal rounds are 3-minute rounds, but, because he's fighting a fucking grandpa, they decide, you know what, we'll make it 2, and we'll still make it a legitimately sanctioned fight. So this is going to count towards the records. So it was a candy ass fight, if you want to call it that. It was just terrible to watch. There was absolutely no like or oh or uh-oh moments. Maybe one where Mike Ty landed like maybe 1 or 2 punches on Paul, and that was about it. Every punch that Paul landed on Mike Ty was expected, because he's stronger and faster and younger than Mike Ty. So it was not expected, or it was expected. When Ty landed a couple punches. That was unexpected because, one, he's a grandpa. He's super old. I don't care if he's Mike Ty. He's old as shit. He's not going to be able to be even close to the athletic capability as Jake Paul is. I was talking to my friend about this a couple days ago. Like, he was saying, like, he's been doing this for so long. Don't you think that he would be better at it? But I'm like, I mean, he did it professionally, like, over 20 years ago, and then he was out of it for a long time doing nothing, pretty much enjoying his life. I don't care, like, if you know where to punch and when to punch, but is your body capable of doing that at the speed to actually, land those punches or strategically make these dodges in order to make these punches? If your body is not capable of doing that at the speed that it needs to, I don't care how much experience that you've had in the past. If your body can't do it, then you can't do it. It's not possible. You see this with athletes all the time, not just in boxing, but in football. Peyton Manning talked about, like, it takes me more effort to throw a ball this many yards than it did back 10 years ago. That's when it's like, all right, well, it might be time that, I can picture myself doing it, but my strength is just gone because I'm older and I'm weaker. You don't get stronger when you get older. That's just a fact. That's just how it works. That's just how it is. So, I mean, again, like, what did we expect, right? Let's go back to that, fundamental, the first question of when this was first announced, right? When this fight was announced that he was going to be fighting Mike Tyson, Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson, what did we all really think? Did we actually think that Mike Ty had a shot to beat Jake Paul? Yes, we all thought that, including myself. We all thought, hey, you know what? Mike Ty is Mike Ty. He'll beat the fuck out of Jake Paul. And then when it actually came to be, it was nowhere even close to that. Reality set in. You saw the way he was. You saw the way he moved. It was sad. This was borderline elder abuse. Maybe even so, actually elder abuse, And it was just sad to watch. It was sad. And now that you think about it, now that you see it, and you're like, just, how it all shaped out, rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, how it just took a nosedive, and you looked at yourself and you're like, yeah, why did I think that Mike Ty could beat Jake Paul? Why did I think that? It's because we wanted it to happen. We wanted it to happen, so we convinced ourselves to believe that Mike Tyson could beat up Jake Paul. And in reality, that probably wasn't going to happen. And, at the very end, Jake Paul was bowing to Mike Ty, and I thought to myself, like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, this is either he's just pandering. He's just, he read the room. He knew Mike Ty didn't have it. Mike Ty remembered that, hey, I'm going to get paid $20 million. Let me cool it off. And he bowed and, paid his respects. They embraced after. They hugged and shit. I don't even know what the fuck they said to each other after that. They'd probably say, like, good performance, good job. You didn't, you took it easy on me. I appreciate it. We all got paid. Yada, 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 and all that bullshit that we don't want to hear about, right? And then it ended. And then it was over, and we all kind of looked at ourselves, my whole family, we're like, did we really just watch that? Nothing happened. It was the most unentertaining fight that I've ever seen in my life. And I thought in that moment, holy shit, they got us. Like, they got a majority of the country to buy into this narrative, this storyline that this was going to be a good fight, a worthy, watchable fight, and it just wasn't. And honestly, I was shocked in myself and what I thought, and I had so many emotions once it ended. Like, I can't believe what I saw. I can't believe, for one, thank God I didn't actually pay for this. I have a Netflix subscription, but I didn't pay an extra charge. And I was just like, they made a lot of money. I don't know how, but they did. I mean, cool, I guess. Successful. Capitalism. Beautiful. I love it. Get your money. Keep getting them checks. But at the same time, it's just like, well, I was robbed from my time. Mike Ty took my time away. Jake Paul took my time away. I was robbed. And the country was robbed. And the country went, full swing on all of this, with memes and TikToks and videos and reels and shorts, and just went in on this entire thing, calling it out for what it was and what we witnessed. Shit. Ass. Mike Ty, before the fight even began, and I actually caught this, in between eating and watching the shit at my house. Mike Ty caught us all off guard. I don't know if you guys saw this or you were paying attention, but he gave a interview before the fight in the locker room, and he turned away from the interview, walked back. The man's ass cheeks were out. Full display, Mike Ty's ass was, out. The camera didn't cut away. It left it on there as he walked away for a good second and a half, and then cut to the panel after. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Is this for real? Mike Ty's ass is out. Is he playing it up? He had to have been. 100%. He knows. Mike Ty has a podcast. He's like me. He's an entertainer. He knows how to get eyes on him. Or he knows even more than me how to get eyes on him, And he's thinking to himself, like, I'm going to do this interview with my ass out. I'm going to turn away and walk away. This might have been scripted, by the way. And I'm going to make them keep the camera on me as I walk away, knowing that my ass is out to get clicks, to get, to make memes, to put myself out there, and to make it go viral. And he did. Immediately after, like 4 minutes after, I was checking X, and already meme after meme after meme, my brother was showing me shit about Mike Ty's bare ass just out for the world to see. And I'm like, wow, he did it. He literally did it. He gave us a nugget before the fight even began. This guy is an entertainer. And at that point, I was just like, well, maybe he's just an entertainer and no longer a boxer. And he played it all off in this entire fight that he was going to be the boxer that the country wanted, the country desperately needed, but figuring out towards the end, at the end of the fight, that we did not need this whatsoever. This was just not completely unnecessary for us to watch this, for this to even be a thought, to be conceived. I mean, it was just terrible. And besides, there are even more things that are coming out about this fight. Not about the fight itself, but about, there's videos now where people are breaking down the fight of what we actually saw. And there is straight up evidence where it looks like Mike Ty is pulling his punches and holding back against Jake Paul. And I gotta say, I'm a big conspiracy guy. I enjoy conspiracy theories. They're so much fun. There might be some truth into this. If you look at this, if you actually analyze it of what actually happened and how this all went down, there's a possibility that Mike Ty legitimately was throwing this fight. Was throwing it because this Jake Paul's fight, he challenged Mike Ty and he was going to offer him $20 million to appear in the ring with him, not win, not compete, to appear, to play, to act, to perform. That's not really compete, but perform. And he did that, and he secured the bag, $20 million. That is enough to change an entire generation of Tysons, to provide for them, to put them through college, get them careers, pay for everything, right? And he just secured that by barely throwing any punches, pulling punches back, missing, punching air, looking like a fool, looking like an old fool, and securing the bag. Is that all it takes? Is that really all it takes? If you look at this now, if you look at this and you're like, this is good for the sport of boxing. If you're one of those people who has been calling Jake Paul good for boxing because he gets eyes on the sport, because he gets viewership, and if you look at Jake Paul, he's 11-1 right now. His one loss was to Tommy Fury, who is actually close to his age, a legitimate boxer, and Jake Paul lost that fight. Every other person that he's fought is older, no longer competing, washed, and just no longer, and also probably either a mixed martial artist or not a pure boxer, right? Tommy Fury was a pure boxer and he beat Jake Paul. So what does that tell you? Jake Paul needs to actually compete against actual boxers. If he calls himself a boxer, he needs to actually compete against core boxers. The problem is he probably won't beat them. He's probably going to lose. He lost to Tommy Fury. He learned that lesson. He's like, well, I can't have the people think that I'm bad at boxing, so I'm not going to challenge real boxers. I'll challenge MMA fighters because that's not their strength. They don't solely focus on boxing like I do. Like, I think it was Nate or Nick Diaz or Ben Askren or hell, who did he first fight? One of the first fights he fought, Nick Robinson or no, Nate Robinson, former NBA player, clobbered that guy. But I think that we actually have to look at it and say this guy actually is damaging to the sport of boxing because he's not even boxing. He's just playing as a boxer and beating non-boxers as a boxer, So he's not really doing anything for the sport. He's actually making it a mockery to cash in, and no actual. I guarantee you, man, there is like no actual like up and coming boxer. Maybe not a guarantee, but I could pretty much I could look at this and see like nobody actually who's an upcoming boxer is going to be looking up to Jake Paul about boxing. No one's actually going to be like, oh, I studied Jake Paul because I wanted to be the best boxer in the world. So I'm going to look at him and try to see like what he does and see how he trains and how he approaches his competition. You should not, because he's fighting old people and non-boxers, and that's why he's 11-1. The only boxer he fought, like I said, was Tommy Fury, and he lost to that one. So I think that we need to take a good hard look at what we are looking at and what we are seeing when it comes to the Jake Paul boxing experience and the Jake Paul crusade on boxing and what he has done. Is he good for it? Is he bad for it? If I'm the decider, if I'm the judge, if I'm the person who's deciding what where boxing is at in a state, it is probably the most damaged and the most it's at the point where it's the most probably going to be the most untaken serious combat sport of all time. Because you have people like Jake Paul essentially running it and just not even boxing, just performing, just going out there and beating up on people that don't box. Cool. At that point, it's not even a sport. It's not even a competition. It's just unfair. And it's not even competitive. It's just like whatever. I mean, like you're essentially paying for these dudes to lose, to throw, which I'm not saying like the ones in the past, they just threw. They could have, though. I mean, that's a possibility. It's still up for debate whether Tyson threw it or not. He probably might have. I'm not saying he did, but he could have, But I mean, I think that would be, Tyson is a competitor, I think, but I also think that, money. I mean, he was gonna get paid either way. I think if he won, he would have maybe gotten paid more. I don't know. I mean, I just, watching these videos of like, breakdowns of like how he looks like he's just, holding back punches where he could have punched, Jake Paul. But then again, like, they're bringing this down when it's like in slow motion and all that, and when you watch it, it's like Jake Paul's moving so fast, like you couldn't even see like when he actually hit him until they like slowed it down in the replay. Like, oh, he actually did hit him there. I couldn't even see it. So I mean, there's a lot going on about this fight. There's a lot of speculation going around about what happened and how it unfolded and what it means for the sport in the future. And will this ever be pulled off again? I'm gonna guess no. Like if Jake Paul challenges like Roy Jones Jr., like I guarantee you the viewership is not going to be at what it was when he challenged Mike Ty. Even though Mike Ty is much more popular than Roy Jones Jr., we're not going to get fooled again on this. I can guarantee you that. Like, there's no way that I think that people in this country are going to be this dumb to fall for this kind of scam, shenanigans, bamboozlement ever again. I can guarantee you. I mean, everybody who saw this was actually, shocked. People who don't make videos or don't make, podcasts or don't make anything about this were making content about this because they were so profound. They were so blown away, not in a good way, about what they just saw and what they witnessed and what the country witnessed and how the country united together in a moment where we're like, you know what? This was shit. Like, hey, we may disagree on politics, on policy, on, whatever, but we can all agree that this was shit. This was terrible. And this needs to be amplified, and we need to tell everybody that this was shit and that this was terrible. That way something like this never happens again, that we don't get scammed like this ever again. Because the only person who won this was Netflix, Jake Paul, and the loser Mike Ty. They won. They won and we lost. Not only was this a bad fight, but the panel on this fight, just Cedric the Entertainer? I mean, really? You couldn't get like an actual boxer to be a part of this panel, to be like, have some insight? I know in the commentating they had Roy Jones Jr., but the panel, the interviewer who was interviewing the fighters or the performers after the fight was honestly bad, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, this entire thing was just a disaster, an utter disaster, an embarrassment to the sport, and putting Netflix in a position where like, you're gonna promote this? You're gonna stand for this? You're gonna cash in? Sure. You're gonna be feeling good for like a day? Cool. But the reputation, what you put on, a sham, a scam, a flake, just utter bullshit. Not good. I don't know. Man, Netflix, I thought you were good. I thought you made good content, but clearly you can't. You haven't been in a while, and you still can't. You can tell that I'm a little salty about this, and I truly am salty. I mean, I felt like my entire I wasn't even going. I mean, I was going to watch it, not be like this is going to be good, but I wanted to at least be somewhat entertained by a fight, and it was anything but that. It was just bad all around. And no need to do that ever again. Ever again. All right, let's move on to something that's not about the fight. Some entertainment news. A couple days ago, they just released a trailer. DreamWorks Universal released a trailer for the live-action How to Train Your Dragon film. Live-action remake of the animated classic that I would say like probably came out about 10 years ago. Maybe a little less than that, but maybe a little more. But, a more recent animated film that has been beloved by audiences everywhere who've seen it. I've seen the first one. It's really good, actually. Really good, heartwarming animated movie that was actually, good. Not stupid, not unthoughtful, not boneheaded, not mindless. A good animated movie that is actually, you could watch it and be like, you know what? It ain't just for kids. It's a movie that was thought out, and it's a cartoon animated, beautifully animated movie that's got a good story, a good premise, lovable characters, fun movie to watch. Even I agree, and I'm not the biggest animation fan, I'll be honest. Probably because I'm older. I just don't really care for the animated movies all that much. Maybe because like they just now become mindless child entertainment, and they just kind of don't have any plot, any story. They're sillier. They're not like what they used to be, like Lion King or Toy Story or Shrek. The last one that I saw that was actually pretty impactful to me, that I actually really enjoyed, was Soul. And then after Soul came out, it was just kind of bad movies after that. Even the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I enjoyed, thought it was fun. It's not like a movie you want to come back and see. There's like no real like rewatchability in the Super Mario Brothers movie. And even though it like made like over $1 billion because it's Super Mario, there's like no rewatchability in my opinion on that movie, if I'm being completely honest. But How to Train Your Dragon, yeah, live action remake. It looks cool. The live action, filter on it, because from what I've seen in this like 1 minute like teaser trailer, which isn't really a teaser because it's already a movie that's been made, it's like a shot for shot like live action remake. I mean, like everything is like shot after shot like exactly how it was in the animated movie. So that's kind of cool that they're being faithful to, the animated movie, even though it being not that old. It's cool to see that. I'll give it that. It was cool. The tone was nice. It was, it felt a little bit more serious than the cartoon, but it was just like, what are we offering new here? There's nothing really that needs. There's no real effort that needs to be done to make this a good movie, because it was already a good movie. Now just make it in live action with real people and still a CGI dragon, which I'll admit, I mean, looks like it just has looks the same as in the cartoon, just has more detail. It's like they have the Unreal Engine 4 dragons instead of the previous graphics. But it looks fine. It looks safe. It looks like it's going to be, sort of a hit. It could potentially be, a hit. The people in it look good. The sets look good. The animated dragons look good. I mean, it looks good. I mean, what can you expect? The first movie was good. It was a good movie. I would not think that they would, stray too far from the actual cartoon movie to make a live action version. I mean, unless they completely change the story, sure. But I hope that they know that what they're getting themselves into. They are entering the world of Disney laziness. When Disney started to remake their old cartoon movies into live action, it was a cool thing at first to see, what was the first one? I think Cinderella as live action, and then Beauty and the Beast. I never saw that one, but I heard a lot of people liked it because that was a big favorite among kids growing up, was Beauty and the Beast. They recently did Little Mermaid. They've done Mulan, which was terrible. They did Lion King, which was the worst of the worst. My only ones that I like were Jungle Book and Aladdin. Besides that, I've hated them all. The ones I've seen, I pretty much hated them all. They're not good. They're lazy. They're bad. They're in some ways worse than the cartoon counterpart. Which you would think, that, well, they could probably, add more emotion to it and more creativity and maybe cooler stuff into it. No, it's actually, much lazier than what you would think, what you would anticipate. It just gets even worse. So what do I expect from this? Probably nothing too much. I mean, it's probably going to look pretty cool. It could be, fun for like a one-time viewing to take. I mean, it's not even an animated movie, so like, if you have a small child, how are you going to get them to watch this movie? It's more like for like teens and adults, I would say, at this point, being a live action movie, because you ain't going to take a fucking 2-year-old to watch this fucking movie because it's not a cartoon. So I guess it could be cool, right? I thought about that with Lion King. It could be cool. Actually, I was very, very hyped for that movie, and when it came out, I actually did not want it to exist. But yeah, it could be cool, but it also could be just something that's just there. The live action Lion King came and went, and now it's just there. Like, it's just on the Disney catalog now. That, we had a beloved animated movie, a beloved cartoon movie that had depth, character, story, and lasts forever. Oh, and we just remade this one with super realistic CGI with no heart, no character, no soul, no new story worth telling, and it made over $1 billion. And absolutely nobody likes it, by the way. Do they care about the other points? No, they care about how much it made. So if DreamWorks and Universal are in a pinch, which they probably are, money financially wise, they're going to be like, well, I guess we'll do what Disney did. We know, like, the first ones they did were a success and they kind of teetered off, but let's just try to make one of our best movies that we've made animated into a live action, and hopefully we can cash in on this one and see where we can go from there. That's what I'm sensing when I see this. Like them doing the live action How to Train Your Dragon. Looks cool. Looks like it could be a cool movie to watch, but it's not necessary. It's not new. You're not doing anything different. You're just making the same shit that you made 10 or more years ago. It's nothing creative. You're not bringing anything new to the table. It's just a movie. Whatever. They don't care about me. They don't care about you. All they care about is if they make a profit. I guess it's up to the viewer if they want to see it or not. If they want to see it, then they win. If they don't, then they lose. Oh well. Now to some NFL news. Some news around the NFL. This is not really going to be a week 11 breakdown, a week 11 recap, just some of the news that's been going around the NFL in terms of players, coaches, scenarios that's been happening and unfolding in the league that I've been paying attention to. First of all, Hard Knocks is coming back. In season of Hard Knocks is coming back. And it's not going to be following one particular team. It's going to be following an entire division, people. And this division is the AFC North, consisting of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Cleveland Browns. 4 teams we will be following in this season of In-Season Hard Knocks, and I cannot tell you enough that I actually am really excited to see this. I actually am, because at the moment, where it seems like the Steelers and the Ravens are kind of running away with the division, there's still a lot of time left for these other teams like the Browns and the Bengals to make way to be competitive in this division. So I'm actually extremely excited, for one, to see this division unfold behind the scenes, with the characters that they have, like, Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh of the Ravens, Derrick Henry of the Ravens, Mike Tomlin of the Steelers, George Pickens of the Steelers, Russell Wilson of the Steelers, Joe Burrow on the Bengals, Jamar Chase on the Bengals, Jameis Winston on the Browns. This right now, this division right now has all the pieces of making some good Hard Knocks. The stretch of the season's coming up. It's going to be close between these teams, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Like, this is going to be some pretty good TV, I'll be honest. And I'm actually super excited to watch this happen. I really, really am. And I know that we're used to Hard Knocks focusing on one team, whether it be, training camp, off season, what they just did with the Giants, and now in season, which has been, a thing in the past couple years. Seeing the in season of this division might be really, really good, if not better than the ones in the past. I'm just excited to see this. I really am. I think that it's a good idea. I think that it's something that people want to see, even though us not knowing that we want to see it, we just kind of expected they would just do one team. But this is really cool. I'll be honest. Like this has the makings of some pretty good TV. Like must watch. If you're a football guy like me, if you enjoy football, if you love football, you're going to eat this up. You're going to eat this all up. And I can't wait to see it. I just really want to see like how George Pickens really is, because you hear things about this dude on the sidelines, even when you watch the games, that he's kind of crazy. His emotions sometimes get the better of him. But I just want to see like what this guy's like behind the scenes and how this guy really is. So this is going to be good. I can already tell that this is going to be a good season of Hard Knocks. Now, I'm not trying to jinx it, but from what I can tell, this looks like it's going to be really good. And I hope I don't jinx it, because I really want this to be good. Moving on, though. Some sad news for New York football fans in general. The Jets have completely decided to reboot everything. They not only fired Robert Saleh as a head coach, they've also now fired Joe Douglas, their GM. Nothing is working for the New York Jets right now. And they seem to have the people that they want. The players that they wanted. You have Aaron Rodgers. You have Breece Hall. You have Garrett Wilson. You have Sauce Gardner. You have Devontae Adams. And they still can't do it. They can't figure a way how to make this work. So you're thinking to yourself like, well, it can't be the players. It's got to be the coaches. It's got to be the general manager. It's got to be somebody. So what have they done? They fired both of them. They fired them both. And what does that do? What does that say to you when the boss is fired? That means he's incapable of getting the things he needs to get done with the people that he has. And these are the people that they wanted. They wanted Aaron. They wanted Devontae. And they still can't get it done. People were saying, like, as soon as they traded for Devontae Adams, like, this is going to turn it around. This is what they needed. This is what they wanted. And I was thinking to myself, like, I don't know about this. I don't know. I mean, Devontae's good. Aaron's good. Or we think he's still good. He hasn't been good at all this year. Really. And you're like playing the season out by like, he's going to be back. He's going to be the old Aaron Rodgers. He's going to become what we wanted, what we signed on for at the beginning of last season before he got injured for the year. He's going to be that again. Well, it's 11 games in, 11 weeks in, and he is not that. He is not doing that at all. With whomever he has on the football field, whether it's just the O-line, whether it's his receivers, whoever it is, it's not working. It's not working at all. It's sad to watch. It's brutally sad to watch. You don't even want to watch it. You can't. You can't watch it. So, I mean, they have straight up fired the two, like, some of the most important people in the football team because it is so bad to watch. The New York Jets. It's terrible. You can't watch it. I just think that, when something like this happens, you fire the head coach, you fire the general manager. Internally, this team is like broken. Internally, this team does not cannot fundamentally function. It might come to the point, and I've seen this on social media, like the Jets fans are calling for the owner to sell the team because this guy just does not, he is not putting the team in the right position. Even the general manager, even the coaches, he's not putting them in the position to succeed with what they got. The vision that he has is just not panning out. And people in the Jets fan base do not want this guy, Woody Johnson, to continue to own the team. They are sick of it. They're thinking to themselves like, well, it can't just be the players, it can't just be the coaches, it can't just be the general manager. It starts from the top. It starts from the very, very top. And it trickles all the way down to the GM, executives, coaches, players. It trickles all the way down. As much as we like the NFL as a sport, and we view it as a sport, It's a business that it's they're running a business of the New York Jets. They are a business. When you have somebody in charge like that doesn't understand who they have as their personnel, they have as their coaches, and it's not working, it starts from the top. Same thing. We saw it last year with David Tepper and the Carolina Panthers. This guy is incompetent of just laying back and getting the right people to coach football, lead his team, and he is so stubborn. That guy David Tepper, he will not give up that team, and he will continue to see that team, his team, suffer because he's incapable of putting the right people in the right positions to run that football team. He tried it. He wanted Bryce Young. He got Bryce Young. Bryce Young was not the guy. He wanted Frank Reich. Frank Reich was not the guy. He has Dave Canales. Dave Canales is, trying very hard. I don't know how much, is if David Tepper is even on his side, but it all trickles down from the top to the bottom. It just trickles down. You can feel it. You can feel it when you're part of that. The work group when it's just not working, and you're looking at yourself like, whoa, who? Are you sure that we're firing the right people here? Are we doing this in the right way? And what does that do to the players? When the coach gets fired, when the GM gets fired, what does that do to the players? What do you think that they're thinking? Like, holy shit! I mean, are we spiraling out of control? Like, what's going on? Is the world collapsing? Is the team? The team is in shambles. We can't do anything. Everything is not working. It's not how you want to think as a player. I could imagine you don't want to be in that situation with the Jets. Moving on to the Giants. The Giants and Brian Daboll have confirmed that Daniel Jones is no longer going to be the starting quarterback of the New York Football Giants. It will be Tommy DeVito. And Daniel Jones is not just going to be the backup. He's going to be the third-string quarterback. So he has been demoted from starter to third-string quarterback. Let's be honest, man. If you've been watching football as long as I have, you've been watching Daniel Jones' career from start to now, which is what I've been doing. He, to me, was never that guy. Never. I viewed him as maybe top 20 quarterbacks in the league, with him being like number 20 from whence he started to now. He had a good half of a season, and then he just kind of never was able to do that again. And even before that, he was just okay. He always seemed like he was good enough to be an Eli Manning replacement because he sort of looks like Eli Manning. And I think that the Giants organization was like, hey, he kind of looks like Eli Manning. Let's just draft him. He's like built kind of like Eli Manning. Why don't we just get him? And the problem was he's not Eli Manning. He's not good at football. And, it just like now it all kind of collapsed where it's like nothing with this guy is working. He's misreading receivers. He straight up doesn't throw the ball when he needs to. He throws picks all the time. He'll have a couple drives where he looks great, but then he just gives the ball away to the other team. They can't win with him. It's just all around bad. Brian Daboll is losing his mind over this guy. Every time you see them, they're arguing. He looks pissed off. He looks like he has no options with this guy. Like, it is all around bad over there. I've seen the clips and I've seen the videos of like these guys not even shying away from the fact that they're arguing on the sidelines and just breaking down and yelling at each other and not even, just like total like collapse of the two most important people on that sideline, the head coach and the quarterback. When they're not gelling, when they're not on the same page, you know that your football team is probably not going to win that game. They're just probably not going to win that game. They're not in sync. They don't know what they're doing, and they have run out of options. They have run out of ideas and run out of patience with each other. So, was this surprising? No. In fact, it should have been done a long time ago. I think that, Tommy DeVito's not a good quarterback either, but he's not Daniel Jones. And at this point, I think that it isn't just hurting the football team. I think it's hurting the fan base of the New York Giants. I think that they are tired and sick of Daniel Jones. I think that they are mortified and cannot stand this dude anymore. That once you start to, keep on going with something that's not working, and your fan base is like, you clearly don't know what's going on. You clearly don't understand what this is doing to not only you guys on the field, but to our belief in what you are doing and hurting the fan base, that they are just turning. I mean, no one likes Daniel Jones as a starting quarterback. Giants fans don't. Nobody does. Once you get that discourse talking, where, hey, not even our fans are buying into what this is going on. And I saw a clip of a reporter asking Brian Daboll flat out, are you aware that you're losing fans because of what you guys are doing? And then he kind of paused for a little bit. He was kind of like, oh shit, you know what? we ain't got nobody on our side right now. We've lost not only the locker room, but the fan bases. We might be in big trouble. And he took a breath. He was like, yeah, I mean, I would be pissed if I was a fan too. And that's a very coach politically correct way to say it, but he knows that he is colossally fucking this entire thing up by keeping that man, Daniel Jones, behind center, play after play, game after game. And he knew, and the organization knew too, the team knew. They paid this dude so much goddamn money, they essentially had to play him. They had to, because of how much money that they paid him. They knew that they made a mistake in that, and they knew, you know what, we're just gonna have to eat this, because this is causing like prolonged damage to the team and to the brand, and straight up hurting the fans. So, what do? Tommy DeVito, back starting, back playing, and he's not a good quarterback, but he's not the poison. He's not the toxic poison that Daniel Jones is. Last bit of news in the NFL before I get out of here. It's rumored now that, well, it's not rumored right now, but the Dallas Cowboys are in absolute turmoil, spiraling out of control. They just lost to the Houston Texans pathetically. They have no offense. It really does show you how much of this league is driven by a quarterback, because they have pretty good players on both sides of the ball. But if you don't have a quarterback, you really don't have a shot. And they don't have a quarterback, and they have no shot whatsoever. Players are sad, angry, fighting with each other. Like, you're running a business. This is not how you want your employees and coworkers to be, at each other's throats. You cannot have that. It is, you're gonna fail, and they're failing. They're failing hard, and it's even worse because they were expected to be very good, a competitive team in this season, and they have been nothing but that. And when you have a team full of competitors and a team full of people who've won and are expected to win, and they're losing badly, I mean, it's only a matter of time before it all just boils over and erupts. I mean, it's erupting now. It's a little. I told you guys that this was going to be an insane NFL season before it even began. It is insane. It is disastrous. It is chaotic. There are other teams out there besides the Cowboys, the Jets, the Giants that are imploding. Actually imploding. The Bears are imploding. The 49ers could be imploding. The who was it? While the teams like the Vikings, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Bills are excelling, there are teams that are just absolutely imploding and crumbling apart before our very eyes of who they have on their team and who is leading that team. And they're figuring out the hard way by losing and losing and losing. And the Dallas Cowboys have to be the number one team that is losing. And while all eyes are on them, on every single move that they make, every single one, Dak Prescott is going to be out for 8 months. He's going to be out for 8 months. He's not coming back. What do the Cowboys think is going to happen? What's going to happen? What are they in tank mode? Do they tank? Do they legitimately tank? Let's say that they do tank. They probably don't want to tank, but at the back of your mind, you're like, if we tank, we could probably get a quarterback. And what's going around is that the Cowboys are interested in hiring Deion Sanders as their new head coach. I've heard Deion Sanders and Bill Belichick to replace Mike McCarthy in Dallas. I don't know if that's going to be actually happen, but I also heard that if they bring in Deion, that Deion's going to want to draft Shedeur Sanders, his son. That could definitely be something that the Cowboys need desperately. A new change in everything. New culture. Deion, head coach. Shedeur, the quarterback. You just paid Dak Prescott a ton of money. Oof. I bet you that they regret that right now. And it's just not looking good at all. If you're the Cowboys and you're looking at this situation, you see that as a possibility. You see it as a big possibility. But then do you truly believe that this will work? Will this be the best thing to put your situation to put your team in? Hiring a father-son coach quarterback duo, I don't know. That seems kind of weird. Just because it was weird in the beginning when he went to Colorado with Shedeur. It seems like, kind of like breeding favoritism. Just like, I don't know. Just not really what I would do. Let Shedeur do his own thing. Let Deion do his own thing. They're both adults. I get that they're father and son, that they love each other, but, at the same time, I wouldn't want my father at my job, being my boss. As much as I love him, I wouldn't want that, because that would be just, it wouldn't be good for the work environment, for, anything. So this seems like a DEFCON 1 scenario that they're thinking that, might save them, might also, be, if they get a number one pick, do they have to trade people? Do they have to blow everything up? Do they have to start over? It was all kind of banking around Dak Prescott, being there and being the guy that they envisioned, and he's just not that. Now, that it's also because of injury, because of, but even before that, he wasn't even playing good. So it's like, did they also make a mistake in the quarterback that they drafted and what they saw? Because there was, he got paid after he had a really good season. After that, got injured, lost mobility, just hasn't been able to adjust well to his lack of mobility, being a pocket passer. I don't know. I mean, like, it's just, it's all messed up. Like I said before, I told you that this was going to be an insane and wild season. It is an insane and wild season. There have been more firings and more coaches changes and more quarterback changes than I've seen in a long time in the NFL. Quarterback stories, straight up things not even working. I mean, it's a wild season, man, and I love every second of it. It just gives me more stuff to think and talk about, and just gets my brain going. So do I think ultimately is Shedeur and Deion a good combination, a good fit for the Dallas Cowboys? Sure, it'd be cool to see that. Will it work? I don't know. I think that Dion needs to do his own thing. I understand that he loves his son, and that the main theory right now is that he's going to go there and then they're going to draft Shador. But I also think that, if you're Shador Sanders, you kind of want to do your own thing. If you're Dion, you want to do your own thing as well. But that's just what I think. But either way, the Cowboys, the Jets, and the Giants, main focal points of these imploding teams that had expectations, are all failing. It's a mess, and that's not even all of them. Like I said, the Bears are also imploding, and it's insane to see like how many of these teams are just not getting it. They just don't get it. They don't have what it takes, and the losses are piling up. And it seems like now, even more than ever, like the losses are affecting the teams even more and more than in the past. It's crazy to watch it all unfold. That's going to be it for me today, people. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Remember, you can find this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube at Intelligent Moron with Alex Silva. New episodes drop every Thursday morning. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, and do all that good stuff. And yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And I will see you guys next week.